running through your mind or veins, by the way, when Garrison just gave that unbelievably great backdoor pass to KJ, who was able to finish? I'm assuming that's one of those moments as a basketball junkie that really just gets it flowing.
I can't repeat what I yelled at the TV during that. During that, that was most of the game. I got home about 6:15. I ate dinner and I was ready to go. I was energetic. I yelled a lot of profanities that scared the dogs.
And we're not talking about the homies. We're talking about the actual animals in the house.
The animals were not a fan of my actions. The remote got thrown a couple of times. The phone lost out of my seating area.
This isn't a 10-point win, ladies and gentlemen. Think what a loss brings up, or what Duke is going to bring up. This is going to be bad.
I was wound.
Wow.
I wanted to win the game. I wanted to.
Oh, I was pumped too. Yeah.
I wanted to go into that building and own them again, and that's what Carolina did. A great win. Adam Lucas said it postgame. This is a great win. Most years you don't feel like beating State, and State's a great win. This year it is. Kind of shows you where we're at this year. But you're starting to see this team come together. All the flack Roy Williams has got that he can't coach, he can't develop talent.
I harken back to the dumbasses that I talked about earlier.
So my little brother can't listen to this podcast.
Not this one. Okay. Sorry, nope.
Because these guys are. We didn't see the improvements they were making because they were losing. And a lot of that is our fault because, look, I don't want to come here and talk about losses. I don't want to write about losses. But this team improved, but they weren't getting the results. It's a testament to their commitment to the process that the results will come if you trust what we're telling you, what we're teaching you. And now that's what we've gotten. You've gotten back-to-back wins. You got back to 500. And you gave yourself a chance. And when you were 8-10 and 1-6, all you could ask for is a chance. Because if I have a chance and I've got Roy Williams and I've got Garrison Brooks and I've got Brandon Robinson and then I got Cole Anthony, I'm going to take my odds that it's going to turn out okay.
Yeah, I think at this point, you just look at the schedule. We've kind of talked about it, on and off here the last couple of days since that Miami game. Really, you've got to take care of the games that you are expected to win against unranked opponents. That's where you've got to do your damage. You've got to find a way to beat a team in Virginia that you've struggled against. You've got to find a way to beat a tournament team or at least bubble team in Syracuse, which, I say it like that, but Carolina's had success against Syracuse in the past. I'm not saying it like they're not going to be able to. But again, you also have to know that any night, someone could show up. Look at Georgia Tech. That's a team that nobody expected probably would have 2 wins in conference right now. They beat Carolina and State. You don't know when teams like Wake Forest are going to show. That's the thing. This year, with all of the parity, and I like that. I like that word for college basketball this year. It's just in flux. You just never know who's going to show up on what night. Carolina's got to be ready for it, and I feel like at this point they're kind of realizing that. They learned what Roy Williams has said over and over and over again these last couple of years, and especially this year. Nobody feels sorry for Carolina when you're losing. They love it. So you need to find a way to feed off of that and correct what you're doing wrong. This team's doing it. And, I don't know, and I'm going to ask this question because I'm interested to hear what you've got to say because you're a guy that's a little more, I'm the football guy out of the two of us. So when we talk history, when I compare guys to other guys or whatever, I usually like to do it in football. I turn to you for the basketball. Where do you, get this season for Garrison Brooks? I'm not saying, it's not amongst the all-time greats at Carolina, because it's just, there's so many. But, where does he stack up? He is literally having to take over right now. And it is amazing what he is doing for this team.
It's Bryce Johnson 2016-esque.
It's a good comparison. I like that.
This wasn't expected. I didn't expect Bryce Johnson 2016 to put a team on his back and give you a 39-23 or do all the great things he did for that year's team. I never thought we would come on a podcast or I'd write about Garrison Brooks scoring 25 and 11 and that becoming norm. It's up there. we knew with Zeller and Henson and Hansbrough that those guys were going to give you 18-8 or whatever those stats were. In recent memory, this is as close to Bryce Johnson as you're going to get. His leadership is the most valuable thing he has because that's the one guy that stayed the course probably the most out of any of these guys during the losing streak. We remember the Virginia Tech loss when the double overtime horn sounded. It was pure exhaustion, but a lot of it is just pure frustration because, God, you're not winning games. And, I always talk about, you love the game, play for the love of the game. You play to win. And so he may have loved competing in those 40 minutes. And we'll reference Kobe Bryant right here. There's a thing where I'm never thankful for the opportunity to compete if I lost. You're thankful if you win. If you lost, and you're just, you're not really thankful. I think Carolina's competitiveness, their willingness to still compete, because they could have mailed it in, is something that we can't overlook. And it's going to pay dividends as they hit this tough stretch coming up in February because they're going to have to fight their tails off to beat a Duke, to beat a Louisville,
right.
To beat a Florida State on the road. It's going to take a competitiveness fire that's going to get that job done. Anything else we need to cover before we get out of here?
No, I think I'm pretty good. This is it feels nice back-to-back times to talk about wins. I think this is a feeling that we can get used to. And at this point, look, what's the message for Tar Heel fans? Look, don't start booking your trips to wherever you think this team's going to land in the NCAA tournament.
No, to start buying your Wednesday tickets for the ACC tournament.
Okay, but good point. You threw me off my game here. What else is new? Usually, but what I'm saying is look, now there's a reason to be confident that this team can still find a way to get into the tournament. I've told you this, and look, you could say whatever you want about it. Personally, I don't care. They're going to find a way, if possible, to put Carolina in the tournament. If you're Carolina, give the committee a reason to put you in that tournament. That's it.
You got to win games, and they're doing that now. All right, couple things before we get you out of here. We do want to apologize. We've got some people that reached out to us. We've been dealing with some audio issues with the podcast that you get a weird beeping.
Way to go, superstar.
We're trying to figure out what the issue is. We're going to try to do some investigative reporting that we learned at the Carolina School of Broadcasting as we try to figure out that issue. So we do apologize for that. We are going to talk about the HeelToughBlog.com. A lot of great stuff on the website. My recap from NC State is up. Anthony's analysis from NC State is up for the basketball side. Football-wise, storylines came out yesterday. Schedule breakdown. I promised you guys to be out over the weekend. Anthony let you down. It'll be out on Wednesday.
It's out on Wednesday because Kobe passed away. Okay, I was going to put it out on Sunday, but I felt after that news there was nothing that really needed to be put out. That was why we did not put out the podcast earlier than we did. We didn't put out any articles that night. After that happened, we shut it down. Should have been
out on Saturday, but it'll be out on Wednesday.
There we go. It's out on Wednesday, a week from when it was announced. Okay, so, wise ass.
Go check that out on HeelToughBlog.com. So we've been pushing you guys to start going to the website. There you'll find all our great content: the football articles, the basketball articles, my podcast, Anthony's podcast, all on HeelToughBlog.com. Do want to encourage you guys to subscribe to the podcast wherever you find it. We're on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're on every podcast platform. Give us a like. Give us a review. Most importantly, hit that subscribe button. That way, every time we upload a new episode, it appears in your podcast feed. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Roy's Boys podcast. Well, thank you guys for listening. And as always, go Tar Heels.